Okay, all right, I'm here. Welcome back to Watch the Obsession True Crime. Thank you guys so much for being here with us on this Monday evening. I hope everybody is doing well and that you've had a great day. And I just want to make a little announcement, having to do with the channel here. Our sort of leading moderators are Honey Bun and Anna Flax is here on the channel. We have several other amazing moderators. Love you guys. And we have some great news about our Honey Bun is getting married tomorrow, guys. So Honey Bun is here. So everybody congratulate her. And we're just so excited for her. And, sometime soon I'll have her, maybe Honey Bun, I ask you this, but I was thinking, we can do a little stream and you can come up and, give everyone the details and just kind of tell them your story about you and your man, who I like very much. So congratulations, Honey Bun. We're so super happy for you. And you're just amazing. I couldn't do it without you, girl. So tonight we are going to be talking about, Bryan Kohberger was the Idaho versus Bryan Kohberger, and that case is now coming to a close as the world was shocked by the news just, what was it, like a week and a half ago, that with the trial pending, a start date in just a few weeks from now, Bryan Kohberger pled guilty and the judge accepted the plea. Oh my gosh, head is still spinning from that, right? So since that happened, there have been a lot of things that have been learned about the somewhat, infamous already, but also somewhat mysterious crimes Bryan Kohberger committed in taking the lives of Kelly Gonzalez, Madison Mogen, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle. So we're going to talk about some of that this evening. And I think we're going to be including some details in here that you guys haven't heard yet, even if you've been following this closely. And we are also going to talk about, we're going to talk about what Catherine Ramslin has had to say about Bryan Kohberger, along with some other people that have known him. She was going to do a few more interviews this past week. Apparently, her attorney advised her not to. I think she just got one in with Brian Enton, so we'll listen to just a little bit of that. And we are also going to continue to look at the issue, the big debate. Was Bryan Kohberger, I guess we can say past tense, behind the account Pappa Roger, who participated and led discussions in the Facebook discussion group on the Idaho murder starting on November 30th, 2022. Now remember, this horrible tragedy happened just on November 13th of 2022. And his post went all the way up for a month till my birthday on December 30th when he was arrested. And then his post mysteriously stopped. Now, I just put out a video on this topic a few days ago, and oh boy, have I gotten some comments. I will tell you that there, people have said, that account has posted since then, and all sorts of other things. That just is not true. But I want to hear what you think about that, because I know that people are really divided on that, and I have some additional information to share with you about that as well. So welcome to all of you who are here. I'm so happy you guys are here. Pepper, Angel D, G of Twins, Sirius Black, Zinta, am I saying that right? Well, I sure hope so. Welcome. I'm really glad you're here. Hi, Molly. How are you doing? Welcome. Honey Bun, our girl. PKC, welcome. How are you doing, my friend? Sirius Black, did I say? Of course, I already said hello to you. I'm saying hello again because you're so special. I love it when you're here. Hey, Mary Beth, how's it going? Nice to see you, my friend. Let's see. I think Pepper's here. If I didn't already say hello, I'm already losing track of who I said hello to. Edward, great to see you. Mally, welcome. How are you doing? Hi, Ellie. How's it going? Pretty Insane. How's it going? Hey, Mary C. How are you doing tonight? I know Cuff U is here. I also saw Sherry Madeline. How are you doing? Welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, say hello. Let us know where you're from. Something about yourself. We definitely want to get to know you a little bit better. So this is always a very friendly group. We just ask that you are respectful in your comments to the victims, to their family members, and of course to one another. Other than that, we want you to be able to feel like you can share your opinion freely here. Hey, Susan, welcome. How are you doing? Okay. Majestic Bluey, am I saying that right? Well, welcome. Let me know if I'm saying your name wrong, and I do apologize if I am. Hey, Richie G, it's great to see you. It's been nice to see you lately. Hey, Claudia, how are you doing? Welcome, my friend. Nice to see you. All right, so I think we're going to get started with looking at Let me see if this is the right one here. I'm just going to bring this up to the stage. I'm going to have to flip through it a little bit. If it's not the right slide, I'll just swap it out. Yeah, this is my old one. So let me take that down. Well, you know what? Let me bring something else into the stream first. So I'm just going to bring in a little clip of our girl, Ashley Banfield, talking about some of the new information that was learned just through the proffer that the state's attorney did at Bryan Kohberger's plea hearing just the other day on July 2nd, 2025.
So now we know that Bryan Kohberger, the sick and twisted murderer of those 4 beautiful young lives in Idaho, killed Maddie and Kaylee first on the 3rd floor. And then as he was coming down from the 3rd floor, somewhere between the staircase and Xana's room.
I just want to ask, how is the audio there? It sounds really quiet to me, but I also have my air conditioner on. I usually like to turn it off, and I'm sorry that I'm not, but it's like in the high 90s here today. Is the audio okay for you when I'm playing the video? Edward, you're always right about that, right? Oh, gosh. Hey, McJay, how's it going? It's great to see you. Yeah, do please take a moment to hit the like, and yeah, just give me some feedback about that audio when you get a second, guys.
He encountered her. There had been some reporting out there that he chased
Quiet?
her. That's confirmed
Yeah,
in this
weird.
courtroom today. But that he killed her when he encountered to the left and down a hallway into her room and then killed who is said to be sleeping, Ethan. We don't know why he killed Ethan Chapin after encountering Xana, unless he chased Xana all the way back to her room, killed her there where they found her dead, but then killed Ethan Chapin while he was sleeping. So we now heard that Ethan was not awake, perhaps not fighting, but was asleep. Then the next thing we heard, I had not heard before, was that he raced out of that house, got into that white Elantra at 4:20 a.m. and at a high rate of speed, so fast that he almost lost control. He turned out of that wood, made his getaway, and drove the scene on surveillance. Something else, the front plates of the Elantra were not on the car and therefore not captured on surveillance, and that Pennsylvania doesn't require the front plates, and that would be why that would match. The Elantra without the front plate, likely the Pennsylvania car that didn't need a DMV and got himself registered in Idaho and put a front plate on. Not smart enough. Bryan Kohberger, who's a PhD student at one point, no longer, not smart enough not to be caught. Also, the DNA that was captured from the trash pull, Nicole Burley. The trash pull was taken to the Idaho State Police. They got a Q-tip, which had the DNA of Bryan Kohberger's father, because they said it's the father of whoever had the DNA on that knife sheath, which is this killer. So this killer's father had his DNA on a Q-tip in that trash, and that's how they made the connection. The weapon we now know for sure, as we assumed, was never recovered. This is a detail that's really important. When they searched Bryan Kohberger's apartment, and they went through it meticulously, it was absent of anything evidentiary of value. That's important because there'd been reports out there saying that, Kaylee's dog's hair was found in Bryan Kohberger's apartment. Well, not according to Bill Thompson, the prosecutor, who just stood up and said that his apartment was Spartan, to say the least, meticulously cleaned and, quote, spotless. So nothing in that apartment would have helped the prosecutors to say it was Bryan Kohberger. We had heard about dark spots. There's Steve Gonzalez and Christy Gonzalez leaving court surrounded by a phalanx of media. Let's listen to them.
Are you okay? Thanks for being strong for your family, Steve. Thank you, buddy. Have a good one. What's your name again? Derek Cox. God bless you guys. I'm really sorry.
Bless you guys. Be safe. Go Federal.
Painful. It's so painful to see this family leaving so incredibly satisfied with the meager details that we just got, despite the fact that I'm talking nonstop. It's not enough. It's not enough information for the Gonzalez family. It's not enough for the others either. Just a couple more points, if you'll allow me. Have you got a minute?
Of course, of course. You've been on this from the beginning. So yeah, this is a bit stunning, even for me here.
Yeah. So a couple of other things that I learned for the first time. The prosecutors did not know if he intended to kill all four. Massive, massive. Because during trial, I thought we would hear about,
Now, this is very problematic for me because, again, and I know Anaphylaxis, you were sharing this opinion from your comments in the last stream on this case. It would have been totally appropriate and, almost customary or typical for practice for the prosecutor or the state's office here to require a proffer with Bryan Kohberger and an allocation where he either in open court, ideally, and that can be done. That can be a term of the plea agreement. Absolutely. The state can call it how they want to. Or if not in open court, if there's, the defense attorney's objection to that, at least in writing, that would be made a matter of public record in his own words, exactly what happened, why it happened, what the intention was, and, some details, not the gruesome details, but details that verify that he is telling the truth about what he is telling about this crime for the sake of the victims' families, for justice for the victims, and because, justice is a matter of public interest. So for us all. But, just like with the Chris Watts case, dang, it didn't happen again. What's up with that?
Stalking and Instagram following, and I'm going to go for these four, or at least these three, and maybe Ethan sadly was sleeping over that night. They don't know if he intended to kill all four that night, meaning perhaps he was fixated on Kaylee and Maddie on the third floor, encountered Xana on the way down, perhaps followed, chased, did whatever it was, and ended up in Xana's room where then suddenly there was a fourth. Maybe Xana and Ethan were not the intended targets, but it did not matter. Because under the law, if you premeditate for 1 second, that is premeditation. You do not need to lie in wait. You do not need to write out a map. You do not need to write a diary saying, I'm going to do this. 1 second of premeditation is a first-degree premeditated murder, which means Xana and Ethan, maybe they weren't on the target list, but they were absolutely murdered with premeditation and malice aforethought.
Absolutely.
So, and then the judge accepted the plea. We weren't sure, but we had a pretty good idea, but he officially did. And we now know that on July 23rd and 4th, that's a Wednesday and a Thursday, there will be a formal sentencing. It may only take 1 day, and we will hear from the families. They will be able to say their piece. I don't know how much Bryan will say, but the gag order, I was waiting on this. They said there's no reason now to have that gag order in place. It will be in place right now until sentencing, okay? So we're not going to hear anything until July 23rd at least, or 24th at least, but it will be withdrawn because there's now no need. Thank God. We will learn so much more about the investigation after that date.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app right now.
It was just Ashley that was quiet, surprisingly. Okay, so that was just, some of the information. Maybe you have heard that. Some of that buying out at this time, some of it we can go back to and talk about if you want to. I just kind of wanted to get us all on the same page there. Okay, let me see if I can bring in my Google Slides now. How are you guys all doing? Did you guys all have a good start to your week? I am back to my job part-time. I wasn't going to work this summer, but part of it was because I was going to cover the Kohberger trial. So in that sense, I'm kind of glad I am. But also, just some other things. But it's cool. It's only part-time. 8 to 12, Monday through Thursday. Yeah, I can handle that. Okay, here we go. So, Molly just made a good point that I just responded to. Oh, where'd I go? There I am. Hope you could hear me. Molly said, they can get a lot of information in civil court, though, interrogations and depositions. That's actually absolutely true. But, I'll just read my response that I just said to her for those. Hey, Crafted, how are you? I know. I was actually thinking about you when I decided to do this because you're like, I can't wait till you have the summer off. I said, Molly, great point, because it's true. Stakes are far less so in a sense in a civil trial. His life was on the line here in the criminal trial, right? But in a civil procedure, he'll have nothing to lose. So, the honesty that I want to hear is from him, right? Hopefully, a lot of the details that haven't already been leaked or aren't being slowly released will be ultimately released through the discovery. Again, that's going to be a decision that the state's attorneys are going to make. Hopefully they'll do the right thing and release anything that doesn't truly have to be redacted, like Judge Hippler style, for purposes of not doxing an innocent party, right? But that's yet to be seen. What I want to know, I want to hear from him. And I do fear now that will never happen, but that is a really good point, Molly. Okay, so I made this little slideshow during a previous live stream that we did together. And, I just went through here. I'm not going to read through all of them. These were all the pieces of evidence that we already knew about Bryan Kohberger that were very incriminating. There was over 20, okay? So then I'm going to take myself out of there so you guys can see better. I'm also going to take this little banner down. We got a lot going on that screen. Just give me one moment so I can take this down. Okay. All right. So what was revealed on Dateline? Well, the pornography searches for types such as forced, drugged, and asleep. Just want to point out that these are all, types of pornography that somebody who has a power issue, a control issue might be interested in, as well as just an absolute perverse, sense of the world and people around him. The 11/12 King Road footage that was leaked, the confirmation of suspicion of Kohberger breaking into the friend's apartment, where he broke in, and then she was rearranged her makeup all in a nice, neat, arrangement on the back of her, the top of her commode. Rather, she just kind of had it splashed all over the place, like mine is when I'm getting ready and hurrying in the morning. And then he offered to install a security camera in her place. He did. Authorities didn't know she had access to it. It was his colleague he shared an office with. Kohberger viewed and saved videos of footage, podcasts and stuff, covering the murder 60 times. They had those Ted Bundy searches and the selfie of him wearing that black hoodie. What happened to Ethan Chapin, his body being mutilated after death. And then the 6 a.m. calls to his parents on a Sunday morning that totaled for 53 minutes. There was a couple different conversations. So just recently, in the past few days since the plea deal, people have been talking. People who are friends of Bryan Kohberger, classmates, colleagues, acquaintances, and also, again, Dr. Ramsland. So these were just some of the quotes. Now, from a childhood friend, when asked, why did he do this? This person responded, he did this to experience what it feels like. Now, kind of different from a classmate, wouldn't even call him a friend. This guy says from Washington State University, he says about Bryan Kohberger, this is a quote, he's an abyss, a hollow entity, not human. And then Dr. Ramsland remarks that as a student, he was polite, engaged, and interested in research. And in regards to his alibi, just, out, stargazing on a cloudy, totally overcast, thick cloud night, she said, that's not an alibi, and you know it. Now, Catherine Ramsland, we know, studies serial killers. She is one of the foremost experts on the psychology of serial killers, having extensive time spent with BTK, interviewing him, writing several books on him. And she said that with Bryan Kohberger, she did not see this coming at all. So I just thought that those were a couple interesting points just from people that have been spoken to since the plea deal. Now, I'm going to bring into the stream, and some of you guys may have seen this. I made a video featuring this. We're just going to cut to the chase in the video, but in the video, I pointed out the information that this content creator, and it's Asgat Industries, she's the person that did the 3D recreation, the 3D model, was hired for Dateline to do it. I think she's just absolutely brilliant. I thought this was amazing. Her sources, the information she's received from all these various sources. She says she got the information from media sources like Dateline, Netflix, who've all hired her, who commissioned her to do work. This information is vetted, it's solid, it checks with all the information I know to be true, and I know my information is vetted, fact-checked, and solid. So let's just start watching this, and then we can talk about it, because I want to see what you guys think about some things here. Again, the creator is Asgat Industries, obviously a talented creator. She did some 3D recreation models of the Karen Reed trial and the Apple River. No, not the Apple River. I'm going to have to check on that. Something I guess I didn't follow, but several different things, and they're all really brilliant.
In this illustration, we're going to start at 3:30 a.m. At this time, everyone is asleep except for Xana. Looking inside the home, we can see where everybody was. Starting at the 3rd floor, we can see where Maddie and Kaylee were sleeping. Maddie was sleeping on the edge of the bed, while Kaylee was sleeping near the wall. As we go out and drop down to the 2nd floor, we can see Dylan's room directly under Maddie's room. Continuing across the living room onto the other side of the home, we see Xana's room. She's sitting in bed scrolling on her phone while Ethan sleeps next to her. Minutes ago, she had just finished ordering DoorDash and has all the lights on while she waits. The last roommate to mention is Beth, whose room is on the 1st floor, directly below the living room. As most of them all sleep, Kohberger pulls into the neighborhood for the first time this night at precisely 3:30 a.m. We know this due to a home security camera that captures the intersection and records the coming and going of anybody that enters that neighborhood. As we continue, Kohberger drives past the home and notices that all the lights on the 2nd floor are still on. He drives on and loops around the apartment complex building.
I would just like to note here that although it has been widely speculated that Kohberger did so many passes by the house and kept driving around that neighborhood seemingly aimlessly that night several times, many people suspected that it was due to lights still being on. And then finally, when Xana got her DoorDash order and the lights turned off, that was the go signal for him. But Asgat Industries 3D model here really shows us exactly how that went down and gives us an actual look into the reality of that horrific night.
Because of the home security timestamp, we're able to know how long it took to drive this path. On his first pass, it took him 2 minutes and 38 seconds, and this is him leaving on the first pass. Now let's look at his next 2 passes and record the times. This is pass 2 of him entering and leaving. And now this is pass 3 of him entering and leaving. When we do the math, we can see how long he took each pass. The last 2 passes were normal without any stopping, but on his first pass, he took an additional 42 seconds to creep by the house or even stop for a time to stare into the windows with the lights on.
What a great nuance point she makes here. On his first pass, he took an additional 42 seconds, probably to stop, slow down, and peer inside the house like the creep he is. Now, I just want to say, this is an example of an exact point that I've been making all along. I mean, it's really a moot point now that this is basically all said and done about that house not being torn down, for reasons like this, to, have a very clear understanding of, if we were able to determine, like this person has done through evidence she's been given, probably vehicle metrics and, all these various things, cell phone records, putting it all together like good investigators do with all the information they have, all the evidence that they have on this guy. If the house was still standing, you'd be able to get a really good idea of exactly what he was doing, where he was looking, where he was stopping in relation to the house. I mean, I know they have a general idea of what the house was like, but there really is nothing like the house still standing. I will never understand.
All this information has been coming from camera A, but there is a second camera located behind the apartment complex building, and we're going to call that camera B located here. This camera allows us to see how long it took to get from point A to point B, and between the 3 security cameras' data, it took between 35 and 37 seconds. What this means is you didn't stop or park somewhere or go into a different direction. He simply drove straight from point A to point B at regular speed.
This is the best use of the footage that we have seen from, as she's calling it, security camera B, to figure out how long it took Bryan Kohberger to make that loop around the apartment building. She's doing a great job rather than adding fictitious noises like screaming in the far off distance or, you know, all of that stuff that we've heard.
These times help us understand the DoorDash delivery window. According to court documents, 2 times are noted. One is 3:59 a.m. and the other is 4 a.m. Bringing back our passage chart, we can see that the DoorDash time of 3:59 happens after Kohberger has left the neighborhood and before he returns for his last pass at 4:04. It is possible that the DoorDash driver saw Kohberger as he was parking his car, because a timestamp of 3:59 could be reflected when he took the photo of the food at the front door instead of the time he arrived. So it is possible he witnessed Kohberger staring at the windows as he drove by.
And this would, of course, corroborate DoorDash driver initials MM's claim that she saw Bryan Kohberger when she was delivering the DoorDash order to Xana Kernodle, that she looked right in his eyes and she saw him staring into the house.
Continuing, as the driver leaves, Xana turns off all the lights, sits on her bed, and scrolls on her phone as she eats her food. A few minutes later, Kohberger enters the neighborhood for the last time. But this time, as he drives by the home, he sees all the lights are off. At the camera B location, he turns around to head back to the residence as shown in this video. When he returns to the front of the house,
I just really quickly on pause and say, Angel D, I'm reading your comments in Serious Black, and I know, guys, we have to have like a powwow, like a, you know, consoling one another, like chat here. We're gonna have that, I promise. And wait till you hear some of the other things that people are saying in comments on my videos. We're gonna laugh it out a little bit. We're gonna talk about it. No worries. Hang in there.
He does something unusual, so much so that it's noted in the arrest affidavit. On page 6, it states, when the suspect vehicle 1 is in front of the Kings Road residence, it appeared to unsuccessfully attempt to park or turn around in the road. It goes on to say that he continued onto the intersection where he did a 3-point turn. This 3-point turn was captured on camera A, which has a timestamp of 4:06. He appears to be calm and not overly anxious with his driving. As he heads back in the direction of the residence, he takes one last look at the windows to make sure all the lights are off. As he begins to drive around the end of the apartment complex, camera B records the time of 4:07. Fast forwarding a little bit, Kohberger drives to the back parking lot away from other residences. He takes a few minutes looking around and sees that nobody's out and that all is quiet. He eventually grabs his things, gets out of the vehicle, and begins walking to the back of the home. At approximately 4:13 a.m., he begins to make entry. As he steps in, he takes a minute to make sure everything is quiet and that nobody is truly up. He walks to the entrance of the living room and looks around. He continues to be cautious and stands there listening.
Okay, Angel D says, I need to pause this. Angel D says, I thought that he parked next to 11-1122. Yeah, and that's the information that I have as well. And I do believe that that's true. I don't know if you think that from this channel, what we talked about here, if you've heard that from other sources as well. But that's one of the 2 points that I don't agree with in this video, but I believe this is based on the information Yes, she had. Please stop doing videos on him. The families have had enough. What are you talking about, dude? People are going to be talking about this crime forever and a day. We do nothing but support and love and have so much compassion for the families here and are completely respectful for them. But honey, you ain't going to stop human nature, not on this channel or anywhere else. This is not going to become another Watts case for me in that regard. Oh no, I can talk about what I want on my channel.
Feeling confident, he continues upstairs. As he makes his way to Maddie's room, the time is about 4:14. Meanwhile, 2 minutes later, Xana takes a break from TikTok and walks into the kitchen. Evidence shows her activity on the app stopped at 4:16.
Although I was aware that Xana Kernodle was on TikTok at 4:12, I did not know that evidence shows that her activity on TikTok stopped at 4:16. Did you know that?
As she enters the kitchen, she's a little shocked to see the sliding glass door wide open. And at the same time, she hears a serious commotion going on upstairs. Hey everyone, I don't usually ask, but I'm building a small production company to bring you more exciting stories, and I'd love your support. If you'd like to help out and get some cool perks, or own the 3D model file I created for this animation, please send me a DM and then drop a #AsGet in the comments so I know to look for your messages.
I also do want to say I don't usually play someone's whole video like this, even if I am commenting on it, and I included this part because her goal is to get subscribers at this point. This video had a ton of views, and I did have permission to use it. So I do definitely endorse this person's channel. She's amazing.
Your support truly means the world to me. Thank you. Picking up where we left off, a source revealed that Xana's phone recorded steps and elevation change, which is how it's known she went to the kitchen and the 3rd floor.
Well, how about that? A source revealed that Xana's phone recorded steps and an elevation change, and that's how it's known she went to the kitchen and then the 3rd floor. We are really putting the pieces of the puzzle together thanks to AsGet Industries and this awesome video.
When she walked up to Maddie's door,
I thought this was a really big point. She's, source revealed to her that Xana's phone, flights and steps. We know that from Watts case too, and many others. Xana's phone recorded a number of steps at the exact relevant time, and also a change in elevation, indicating that Xana did definitively go up to the 3rd floor. Guys, that just chills me to the bone.
Away, she interrupted Kohberger, who had just finished an intense battle with Kaylee, who fought back violently. After a second or two, he notices her, and then she turns away. Being dark, Xana didn't realize what she was seeing other than a shadowy figure. Out of fear, she quickly leaves. A single source, unaffiliated with the media, claims Kohberger injured Xana on the 3rd floor hallway, leaving evidence of blood there. But this single source of information has not been validated by any more sources. Continuing, Kohberger, without thinking, pursues her all the way to her room, not realizing he had dropped the sheath of his knife.
So there you go. It's been widely speculated, and I do believe it now because she is putting the information together so well here. It is Xana who surprised Bryan Kohberger on the 3rd floor that caused him to drop the knife sheath. Xana, you're a hero.
When he gets to the room, he attacks Xana, and the time is precisely 4:17:30. We know this because of camera A captured the sound of screaming and the thud.
And I asked a question here, is that authentic audio? And guys, yes, that is authentic audio. Oh my gosh, guys, is that authentic audio from the crime scene? I just got chills all over my body when I heard that. Wow.
After attacking Xana, Kohberger focuses his attention on Ethan and attacks him while he slept. Afterwards, Kohberger must have sat down in a chair according to a report, which found blood smears on Xana's chair, perhaps from the exhaustion of what he had just done. This source also says that blood from the 2 roommates upstairs were found in Xana's room, showing that it was one person moving from one room to another. Kohberger sitting down was for...
Guys, not to be... I want to play that audio again because meant to the other day, like try to put, I don't know. I don't want to like for morbid purposes, try to, but like for informational purposes, do you think there's something audible that's said there? Let me know what you think. Oh, this is so hard to hear. And just, I'm going to play it again. Don't mute for a minute if you don't want to hear it. I feel like this is hard to hear.
You're a hero.
Oh, wait, let me go back.
Nice. So there you go. It's been widely speculated and the knife sheath.
Okay.
Xana, you're a hero.
Well, we can't say that enough times, can we?
When he gets to the room, he attacks Xana, and the time is precisely 4:17:30. We know this because of camera A captured the sound of screaming and the thud.
Oh my gosh, guys. Is that authentic audio from the crime scene? I just got chills all over my body when I heard that. Wow.
After attacking Xana, Kohberger focuses his attention on Ethan and attacks him while he slept. Afterwards, Kohberger must have sat down in a chair according to a report, which found blood smears on Xana's chair, perhaps from the exhaustion of what he had just done. The source also says that blood from the 2 roommates upstairs were found in Xana's room, showing that it was one person moving from one room to another. Kohberger sitting down was for less than 30 seconds. As he gets up to leave, Dylan, hearing the commotion from Xana's room, gets up out of bed and goes to her door to look out into the hallway. She freezes and sees Kohberger as he walks by and exits through the kitchen. She immediately closes and locks her door and retreats to her bed. Within 20 seconds of the encounter, she's calling and texting her roommates, but no one is responding.
There is yet another new piece of information within 20 seconds of Dylan Mortensen's encounter with Bryan Kohberger. She starts texting and calling her roommates.
It takes Kohberger a minute and a half to get to his vehicle after the encounter with Dylan. But once in his car, he flees the scene at a high rate of speed and exits the neighborhood at 4:20. Dylan continues trying to reach someone in the house. And after 3 minutes of trying, Bethany wakes up and responds to the calls.
This is the one and only one point in this whole video I don't necessarily agree with, because according to this channel's 2 very reliable student sources that we've been in connection with ever since days after this tragedy happened, Bethany was awake and saw, as she looked outside her window, somebody that matched the description of the intruder that Dylan Mortensen saw inside the house, outside of the house.
They converse for 3 minutes, and then Beth convinces Dylan to come downstairs. The time is now 4:26 a.m. Cautiously, Dylan walks into the hallway and through the living room. As she approaches the staircase, she can see into Xana's room and sees her laying on the floor. She then runs quickly downstairs to Beth's room, where they lock the door and for several hours continuously try contacting the other roommates. Back to when Kohberger left the neighborhood, he drove a particular route that would exit onto a road that leads straight to Washington state line. And about that same time that Dylan runs to Beth's room, Kohberger is entering Washington state. This is all part of Kohberger's pre-planning, including finding a place to stop and get rid of any evidence. This place here fits that planning. This area here, pointed out by the arrow, is a little group of trees with a small area that you can park a car on. This is what it looks like from the road. At 4:30 in the morning, while changing clothes and getting cleaned up at this location, one could feel completely safe while being able to see the headlights of a car coming from miles away. As this pivots around, you can see how it is out in the middle of nowhere, and a pre-dug hole near some of these trees would hide forever any evidence that Kohberger was trying to get rid of. It's important to remember that Kohberger was studying criminal behavior and the legal system. This would have motivated him to plan things to the smallest of details, like plastic on the seats to conceal DNA, or crossing state lines because the jurisdiction of one area would take hours to get assistance from the other.
I had never thought of that. If that is why he did cross state lines, well, I don't want to give him any credit, but it was smart of her or whoever figured that out, I think.
Also smart enough to know that this 10-minute stop would likely never be on the radar of the authorities.
Okay, so she just said 10-minute stop.
Okay, so she says it 3 more times. So clearly this woman has evidence that she has gathered from these good sources. All of her other facts have been straight. Everything she that claims is a fact, I believe is, or it just is. You know, like when she says, you know, one source reported, she'll say, but this has not been corroborated by other sources. She's very upfront about that. So she didn't pick this location arbitrarily by these trees here, you know, as she's showing. So there must be more specific information that led her to include this, you know, in this video. And I wonder what that is. Did you guys know that he made a 10-minute stop on his way home? I did not know that.
Criminal behavior and the legal system. This would have motivated him to plan things to the smallest of details, like plastic on the seats to conceal DNA, or crossing state lines because the jurisdiction of one area would take hours to get assistance from the other. He's also smart enough to know that this 10-minute stop would likely never be on the radar of the authorities.
Okay, so she just said 10-minute stop. Is she just, you know, guessing at an amount of time that he may have stopped if he did? Or does she have information that makes her know that he did indeed make a 10-minute stop? That's something I haven't heard yet. What do you think? Leave a comment down below.
Especially after he crosses back into Idaho and then turns his phone back on. Let's pick back up where we left off at his 10-minute stop. He continues on with his plan, knowing that he's completely cleaned up and that there's no evidence to tie him to any of the crime if he were pulled over at this point. After getting on Highway 95 and turning south, he turns his phone back on at 4:48 a.m. This section of Kohberger's travels comes from his cell phone data extraction. Let's orientate ourselves onto this map and get a better understanding of the timing. Kohberger leaves Kings Road residence at 4:21 a.m. Just 8 minutes later, he arrives at his stopping point where he gets rid of all the evidence.
Well, folks, it seems like that might be our answer. She reiterates, actually, this is for the third time now, that he makes a 10-minute stop at this location. Dang.
After the cleanup, he then drives back into Idaho and turns his phone back on, which occurs near a town named Blaine. This was referenced in the arrest affidavit along with the next town called Uniontown. The last place to reference is where he's seen on cameras near his apartment at 5:25 a.m. Using Google tools, we can get accurate timing information. This entire route took 54 minutes. If we add the 10 minutes stopping time to that, it would be an hour and 4 minutes. Now, if you add that hour and 4 minutes to the time he left King Road, it would equal 5:25 a.m., the same time the camera captures him on the cameras near Washington State University. The last thing to compare is this part of the route, which has a reported time of 38 minutes to drive without any stopping. Bringing back the time record and adding in the second leg information of 38 minutes, we can now add that time to when he turned his phone back on, which was at 4:48 a.m. After adding the 38 minutes to that time, it gives us 5:26 a.m., nearly the same time that was captured on the campus cameras.
That is tight, guys. Now, remember, at some point in one of the hearings, I think it was the, what was it? It was on the 28th of a month. I don't remember which month, honestly. There was some talk about an 8-minute discrepancy in the travel time and the phone records and when it's AT&T, it's, I can't think of the term that they use. I'm sorry, it's just escaping my mind. I wonder anyway if this 10-minute stop is what would account for that, right? I mean, I think that's very possible. I mean, what did you guys think? I think the information that she included in this video, I think of all the, things that we have learned, and, I am calling this a reliable source because according to all of my well fact-checked and vetted sources, or just things that I use my own discernment and discrimination to know are fact or bullshit in the public realm, I think that she is spot on. So I think of, all the information that we have learned since the plea deal that hadn't already been in the public realm. This was really, this was really a lot. This was good stuff. Let me read some comments here. Yeah. And yes, please do take a moment to hit like. Thank you so much. If you do want to come up on panel, here's a link. I'd love for you to come up and talk if you want to. Yeah, I watched the Peacocks thing too. I thought it was nothing new too. Yeah. Let's see. Let me just get, okay. Sirius Black says, I'm absolutely stoked for the Amazon series to drop. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. Hey, JR Girl 22, welcome. Let's see. The Blue Bridge crosses from Idaho to Washington. Yep, I included that one in my videos. I have 152 videos on the Idaho case. That always surprises me. I forgot that at one time I was like eyebrow deep in this. And PKC says, I don't think anyone else suspected that road that would cross back and forth between state lines. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Molly, who went to school at University of Washington, says it's hundreds of miles of wheat fields. Yeah, like that route that he drove. Thank you for that, Molly. I know I saw some, creators or newscasters went out there and showed us what that would look like, the vantage point at night. And it's like, wow, it is like God's land for real, right? Let's see. I'm just going to, hey, Crafted Evans, I'll bring you up in a sec. I see you back there. Oh gosh, why didn't I not star your comments? Oh, hey, and Tanya, by the way, thank you for becoming a member. That was a while ago. I meant to say thank you already. That's very nice of you. Welcome. So Angel D, I promised you we would get to something. Hey, Pammy, welcome. How are you? You know what? While I am scrolling, let me bring Crafted Evidence up so you're not just watching me scroll here. And
hey there, everyone.
Hey, how's it going, friend? How are you doing? Hey, how you doing, Jennifer? Oh, I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't? Hold on.
Oh, I can now. It just like kind of dropped out for a second.
Okay. No
Yeah.
worries.
So what are your thoughts?
Monday.
Oh, wait, I can't hear you again. I think it sounds like a bad connection type of thing. Do you want to try to talk again or hop down, come back up? And PKC says, I have a slightly different opinion on how and when the DoorDash driver saw him. Would you mind sharing that with us? I would love to hear what you think. Yeah, Crafted. I don't know if you're talking right now, but I'm not hearing you at all. Are you talking? But if you go down and come back up, because I'd love for you to come up. Okay, so Angel D back a while ago said, Kelly, why in hell, you can say hell, would someone plead guilty to all of this if they're innocent? People are convinced Ann Taylor has some devious plan. They'll take back the plea. I don't even think that is possible by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, and come back up, Crafted Evidence, when you can. And you know what? I think that's going to kind of bring me into, I wanted to talk a little bit about Pappa Rogers. And you guys can tell me if you do want to talk about that or not. I always kind of overpack what I'm, want to put into things here, but I do want to read you some of the comments on my Pappa Rogers video along these lines of what Angel D just commented here. Some of the crazy theories people had. Now, let's see. And this video, I posted it a couple days ago. It was lagging a little bit, and just like in the past few hours today, it's shot up like 5,000 views. So hopefully we'll get a lot more comments. It was a sharp spike considering the views it was getting at the time. All right, so let me bring this into the stream here. Also see if Crafted Evidence is back. Okay, let me see if I can bring her back. All right, let's try this again, my friend.
All right, how's my audio? How is my audio?
Okay, it's better.
Okay, I connected to Wi-Fi. I realized I was on data. How is your week going?
It's going good. How are you doing?
I'm like lost because it was a holiday weekend. I'm like, what day is it? It's Monday, right? But man, we've had kind of some crazy true crime stuff going on.
Yeah, no doubt.
I was really floored when I saw the guilty plea. I had to take a double take. I don't know if you did or
oh my God.
did you guys have
my
to double
phone
take?
started blowing up. I was in Target shopping and I was like, what the hell? And I finally looked at it because I thought it was like a family emergency and it was all of you wonderful people letting me know what was going on. Yeah, it was pretty wild. Yeah. So what do you think
Yeah,
about what's going on? What's going on with all this new information we've learned with the case? What are your thoughts?
I'm like waiting
Are you okay?
for a personal statement or something, during when we go back into the courtroom. Like, is he going to make a statement? Is he going to say something? I mean, I feel like no matter what he
No.
says, it is not going to bring any comfort to anyone. But
Well, it's not, and he's not going to make any further statement. I mean, he might if he can swallow his pride, or if he just wants to do it, is a gameplay. He might apologize of some sort, but the chance for him to offer any further details, I mean, he could do that in an allocution. I mean, the defendant always gets the last word. They get the last chance for allocation. They get the last word in a trial, and that word could be his. But I do not think that word is going to be coming. The chance for that to happen really would have been, it was a strong hand that the state was holding, where they could have said no plea deal unless we proffer you allocate, give specifics on the crimes that you are going to be pleading guilty to, whether it was in open court or in a handwritten document or whatever that would be made a matter of public interest, share with families. But they just let that opportunity pass. So I really do believe that ship has sailed.
yeah, and it's kind of like what I read in chat. I agree with a lot of you. I feel you don't plead guilty to something unless you're guilty. You just don't. You
Right.
fight. Um, it takes a long time for them to carry out, you know, everything pretty much in the legal system. And I feel if he really didn't do it, then he would, you know, stay strong and stick with it and carry it out. Um,
Mhm.
Part of me feels kind of the same as I did a couple weeks ago, where I feel like this was all a big experiment to him to see if he could get away with it. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not sure, if other people kind of have that theory or what the motive was. Just keep thinking, what is the motive?
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I think, I've heard a lot of other people say something similar, and it's very similar to, what I'm thinking with like kind of his personality profile and what we do know about him. I do think that he is somebody who, by his own admission had a complete absence of feelings. This is, one friend or not classmate said from Washington State, this quote I have here, let me read it exactly. He said about him, he's an abyss, a hollow entity, not human. And I think he felt that way. But so he's empty. But what he does have is intellect. So he over intellectualizes the world around him. That is how he views the world. It's his only way of viewing the world. It's the only way he can view the world that gives him any degree of confidence or, feeling like, he has any worth or value. And I think that, he considers himself, he fancies himself a much smarter, craftier person than he is. And I think that for him, this was all like a his own scientific study, his great work, his study of life. This was one of his, great, studies. It's going to go down in the history books. Like that's how
Right.
he thinks of it.
And especially when we see that picture in the bathroom, the selfie with the thumbs up. I
Mm,
mean, that
yeah.
to me just, they say a picture, can say speak 1,000 words. And it seems out of his character in the first place. He does not seem like the type of guy who would be taking selfies and doing that kind of thing. And that
Yeah.
was like a moment for him where he was proud of himself and he wanted to kind of snap a piece of history or something for himself, kind of like a prize, a treasure to look back on.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think so too. I mean, even when you like kind of look at his expression and the demeanor you pick up from him, the energy of of that picture, it's very different than any other picture we've seen of him. You know what I mean? There was something
Yes.
different about him. He was feeling like a new man at that moment. I think it's very clear. Like you said, a picture can, speak 1,000 words.
right?
Yeah, it's like he had like, I hate to say this, but like a light in his eyes versus when we look at other pictures, he
Right.
looks dead in the
Yeah.
eyes. You know how,
Yes.
we've
This
kind of
gave him
looked at,
like, yes, like
yeah,
a reason. This gave him a reason to shine, a reason to be, a purpose in life. As sick as that is,
yeah,
right? Yeah, I totally agree with
absolutely.
you. I totally agree with you. I'm just so you know, I'm paying attention to you, and I'm also
No, I knew you were
going
gathering
through
some
these
stuff too, so
comments here. I'm trying
I
to find
thought
a
it would
couple
help
comments.
to jump up here.
Yeah, I should have. No, I appreciate that. I should have grabbed them before, but there's Angel D. Just in regards to what you said about people's like crazy theories and whatnot. This is just crazy stuff.
It would be interesting to see. I know he cannot, write a book because of Son of Sam laws, but
Right.
it would be interesting if in a couple years,
Well, he could write a book. Idaho's Son of Sam laws are a little different. He could earn money for the purpose of restitution. He can earn money. He
okay,
can
and it
write a
could
book.
go to the
Yeah,
families.
correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
It would be interesting if he writes a book and does say, yes, I was into criminal psychology. I wanted to see if I could get away with this. Obviously, I didn't. But I mean, that to me is just like the only thing I can think of is someone who was studying this and
Yeah.
wanted to bring out their own experiment and see, could I get away with this? How
I,
easy would it be
I
to get away
totally
with
agree.
this?
And let me read you this one. There was
Yeah,
one
yeah,
person that commented on the Pappa Roger. Bryan Kohberger is Pappa Roger. I'm convinced of it. And I told you exactly what. Well, one of the reasons why. The angle I looked at it through the DeSales Reddit survey study, and I broke down that whole survey. There's only 9 questions in there that are authentically his. If you just watch the video, if you haven't yet, I don't want to explain if you've already watched it. But this person says, Big Trooper 9418 says, I think he wants to be studied, discussed, and analyzed. He also wants the fame and infamy of BTK or Bundy. Having
yeah.
Dr. Ramsland write a book about him, maybe a topic of her classroom discussions, would be thrilling to him. Movies, he'd love that. Just my opinion. Big Trooper, Big Topper, I mean. Yeah, we totally agree here, I think. Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, he wants to be studied and analyzed. And, I was thinking about this, and I know this sounds kind of crazy and off the wall, but there should almost be some kind of law where if you've done something this extreme, that you have to donate your brain to science. And then you get, I don't know, extra gym time in prison or something.
Extra
Because,
prison yard time.
yeah, because, I mean, obviously, you're
In
not going to
exchange for your
benefit.
brain, you're going to get an extra honey bun once a week.
Right.
No offense to our honey bun.
Right, not our honey bun. But, it would be interesting to go inside of these people's anatomy and actually look like, what is there something in the brain that all of these people have similar going on. And that
Yeah.
was interesting with like Dahmer. They really wanted to study his brain. And the dad said no, the mom said yes, and ultimately they decided to destroy it. And I think that's really
Right.
sad because that was one of those cases that was really weird and rare, but there's so much to learn from, why someone would pick random people that they don't know and do this.
Yeah.
And it's so different than a crime of passion, like a Jodi Arias, where we have someone who has this anger towards someone, or a Casey Anthony. I know she's not guilty, but you know what I mean.
Right.
But
Sure.
she was having these feelings of being a mom and being overwhelmed, but there's no connection between Bryan and these students, and that is the mind-boggling part about all of this, I think, for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is totally mind-boggling, and I just, and this is one of the only ways that we would ever get more insight into this, since, we aren't currently exchanging like prison yard time for brains.
Right. Not yet, but you know what? I think I'm proposing it.
I mean, we can try to pass some legislation. We can work on that, but it might not be a good use of our time. But I do like the idea. I'll tell you that. Is by him, speaking in his own words in a situation that would matter to him, and whether he could have that plea deal or not, or whether he'd have to endure that trial and completely lose his power when he was emasculated and stripped of all of his masks and black hoodies and whatever in front of all of the world, and also could then have to sit in front of a firing squad. That may have been a compelling enough reason for him to actually speak with some semblance of truth. But since that is no longer on the table, I'm talking to you, Bill Thompson, I don't know if we're ever going to get that. And here, I finally found this comment here. I just want to read it before my brain moves on to something else, because I'm feeling that way right now. So this person, where'd it go, man? I just had to know. Okay, hold it again. So what do you think about that? I just lost it. I have to find it again. But I mean, do you think he'll ever speak any semblance of truth about this?
I think down the road. I think not right now. I think he is smart enough to know that the more he keeps his name in prison, the safer he is. So every couple years, he's going to have to do something to, to keep his name safe, to keep himself safe. The interesting thing I haven't heard about much, are there groupies yet for him? I mean, I see a little.
Oh my God.
Bit.
Yes. No, there's crazy. No, there's crazy groupies. I mean, the pro-burger people are like, they're fucking nuts.
Are there like fangirls though, to the point of Ted Bundy where like.
No, but there never will be, because look at him.
But there's always some weirdo who will think he's attractive. You know what I mean? Like, there's always
but I mean, it's not. But I mean, your question, it's not. I mean, it's never going to be like Ted Bundy, because Ted Bundy was a objectively attractive type of person. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's gross it is to say that, but this guy is objectively.
But it is the reality, right? It will be interesting also to see down the road if a fangirl comes out and he develops a relationship behind bars, because I think that was another motive in all of this, is that he felt awkward. He couldn't connect to women. We heard the interview from the girl at the pool party, and she said he sent this awkward text being like, I enjoy those activities too. We should go on a hike
definitely.
together. And,
his problems with women is like very well documented. It means it only makes sense that has to be part of it.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of the woodwork during lockup here. Does he develop a relationship with someone? Does he do an interview down the road? I feel like I need to hear this guy speak. I feel like I've never.
Yeah, but the problem is, like, going back to what I was saying about, we've kind of lost our opportunity. He can talk all he wants from behind those prison bars, but it's not going to mean anything. We're never. The only way that we would have any reason to believe that he was telling the truth is, first of all, because the evidence corroborates it, but also because there was a compelling reason for him to speak the truth, and there was one opportunity for that to happen, just like there was with Chris Watts, and it is now gone.
Yes. Yeah.
So he can talk all he wants, but I don't think there will ever be any reason to believe him.
Like, you mean like there's an ounce of truth versus sometimes I do think that Watts screws up and will tell pieces and parts of the truth. But when I look at Kohberger, I really do, like a lot of you are saying, see a robot. I see no emotions. I can only imagine. I'm hoping more comes out and more Google searches of, does he Google things like, what do emotions feel like? What does love feel like? He seems like that type who did not know how to express himself or how to feel those natural emotions that come to you. Kelly, I think I lost you. Oh, hey guys, I just want to check. Can you hear Kelly or not?
I'm sorry. I just accidentally hit the mute. So, okay.
No,
So I just
okay, you're
wanted
fine. I was like, I'll read comments until you come back, but I wasn't sure if they could hear me.
Yeah, no, you're good. Okay, sorry about that. So I'm not sure what I was going to say, but I can't find that one comment, or I keep losing it. But the person is just saying, a couple people actually said this. I just read a couple comments that they were saying that the Pappa Roger account, the one that was posting in those Facebook Idaho murder groups, that a lot of people think Bryan Kohberger is behind, and I just made a video telling you why I know he is behind it, that it was an account that was set up in order to frame Bryan Kohberger. I'm like, that makes no fucking sense. So This person posted from November 30th to December 30th. So, well, you're clearly saying that Pappa Roger sounds like it would be Bryan Kohberger, but how the hell could that possibly be an account set up to frame Bryan Kohberger? Hey, Dr. Vanna, how are you doing?
Yeah, I saw Dr. Vaughn was in there. Awesome.
Yeah. So it's just really, really super crazy stuff. Okay, here, I'm going to read some comments here. So, oh my gosh, I spent way too much time looking for that. Okay. Okay. So Sirius Black says, I think Dylan showing up to the plea hearing shows her character and her love for her friends. I couldn't imagine if my 20-year-old daughter went through something like this. Yeah. And I heard, people talking about that she had a really strong reaction in the courtroom to, when the charges were read. And did anyone else hear that? Was that true? I did see during the hearing that at some point, and it was right around that time, Kaylee Gonzalez's brother and some other people were like kind of, really going out of their way to look over to the part of the courtroom where Dylan was actually seated. So I was wondering if any of you had heard anything about that. I don't know. Was it the person that was on Drunk Turkey Show the other night that was talking about that? I'm not sure. Yeah. Angel D says, I'd have to admit, I'd love to know Bethany's statements. Yes, I would like to hear them too. Let's see. Let me keep scrolling through here. Hey, Julia Turner, how are you doing? Let's see. Ironic that the pink route looks like a real heart. Oh, the route that he drove. Yeah, I know. I noticed that too. That's funny. Let's see.
I do think, I always keep going back to the whole license plate switcheroo, like registering. I'm like that was pretty thought out. I think in a way most people wouldn't have really thought to cover their tracks. So we definitely know that he's not an idiot.
He didn't want to get caught.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. DE says, I don't think he's Papa. Let's see. Travis Tucker, maybe in Idaho. Gosh.
Also wanted to mention, like we did last time.
Do you want to come up, Dr. Vanna? I'd love for you to come up if you want to come up.
Actually, I was going to invite her, Kelly, but I didn't want to be rude since it's your channel, but I would love to have her on. She's amazing.
Yeah, we love Dr. Vanna. We talked about, let's see, I think that we talked about the Watts case and the Soto case together, Dr. Vanna. I don't think ever Idaho on this channel. Can Judge Hippler add that to sentencing? He can't add anything to sentencing other than the prison sentence. I'm not sure what you're asking about, but he can't add any terms or conditions like the allocation or the proffer or anything like that we've been talking about.
It will also be interesting to see if he is moved, similar to Watts. Is he moved to a different facility for his own safety?
You know what? I was actually tonight, I was going to have somebody coming on here who's actually been in state prison, but they had to cancel because we've had some bad floods around here, and he's doing like some like, he's trying to get his life straight. He's doing some cleanup work with some people who need that. But
is it RC Cowboy by any chance?
Nope, it's not.
Oh,
nope. But then I saw that Jumpsuit Pablo actually did a video explaining very much what my friend was going to talk about. So you know what? Let me bring that in here. I was going to do that tonight, and then I changed my mind. But let's just watch a little bit of this, okay?
Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let me bring this in because
you're doing that
I was going to go ahead.
While you're doing that too, I'm trying to look up. I can't memorize it off the top of my head, but I want to mention that fundraiser that Ethan's family started. So I'll look.
Oh yeah,
that.
Ethan Smile.
Yes, and then I'll throw that in the chat for people too.
Yes, please do. We actually raised money for that and donated money a couple times back when this case was a little newer. I would love for you to do that. Thank you so much.
In prison.
We have a special connection to the Chapins.
Ethan,
now that he is pled guilty to the multiple brutal murders of 4 Idaho college students and is expected to get 4 life sentences, how long will he even really survive once he's inside? As someone who
again, this is Jumpsuit Pablo
recently served 10 years in state prison, I'm going to break down exactly what his time will be like and which inmates and or gangs already have him in their crosshairs. Let's get started. Now, I've seen already the court TV and the big news channels have already made their videos. What will life be like for Bryan Kohberger in prison? And then they got some expert who's a psychologist talking about, well, Bryan's not going to enjoy being isolated. And then you got another guy who says the opposite. Well, Bryan's not going to enjoy not being isolated. So I mean, listen, nobody clicked on those videos because we want to know if Bryan Kohberger's going to be in a good mood or a bad mood when he gets to prison. I mean, you click on the video because you want to hear, is something going to happen to this guy? What do the inmates think about him? Do they care at all, or is somebody already gunning for this guy? That's what we want to hear. So let me step in and tell you, this is how it's going to go. This is what the inmates are going to think. And all that good stuff. But just to warn you, you may not like everything I explain and break down here, but just here to tell you the truth. First off, is Bryan Kohberger going to be isolated at all? Yeah, it matters. We know he's not going to get the death penalty. He won't be on death row. He eventually will make it to general population. Obviously, just like anybody, for the first 30 days, possibly 60, 90 days, he is going to be isolated. Everyone is. You have to go through, like every state prison, the reception, evaluation, and intake process. That's where they do all the medical tests, the psychological tests, if you need medication, if you were already on medication before you came to prison, just all of this evaluation that they do with any inmate, not just Bryan Kohberger. And that takes time. And based off that, they decide what's your situation, your housing situation, and all that, and what prison you're going to go to within the state prison system. Standard stuff. Who knows how long that will take? Because Bryan Kohberger, he likes to fancy himself a crafty man. I think he is, probably more than most guys who are in there. Of course, he's no genius, but I think it really is up to him and where he wants to try to maneuver himself to be.
Okay, so I don't know if I want to watch this whole thing, but basically Jumpsuit Pablo says, listen, so everybody goes through this prison intake system, and then based on what is discovered about a person during the intake process, they're going to determine which facility you're going to go to as your so-called permanent home. So, and I have heard, that this is basically how it sounds. It's a number of criteria that they, consider when they determine where a person is going to go, where they're going to do their sentence. His cat, I know, I love that. But it's not as, they're putting him here for his safety or that. But I think maybe in Chris Watts' case, maybe a little bit, but somebody like freaking Adelson. Oh my God, why can't I think of anyone's names right now? It gets so late and I can't. Wendy Adelson's brother. What's his name? Charlie.
Yes.
Okay. Charlie testified against, somebody who was an important person in the Latin Kings, which is a notoriously violent gang that has no problem killing people. So now he's in a state penitentiary down in South Florida. Yeah, that ain't gonna work. So he got shipped up to North Dakota. So, in cases like that, but it has to really be an extreme case. So
Right.
I think, yeah. So,
and I hate to say this, I'm not trying to lessen the crime whatsoever, but because he did not murder a female, a mother, children, the target isn't as huge as, say, a Chris Watts or a pedophile, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, what he did is any less, but I just don't feel that walking in. I think, of course, at first, the new guy who's on TV all the time is going to have a target on his back, but
Right.
eventually it dies down.
Yeah, but then Jumpsuit Pablo is saying what he thinks is going to happen is in that area there is a notorious prison gang, the Aryan Knights, and he thinks that they are going to recruit Bryan Kohberger into their gang. I mean, he is going to be going into prison wearing a jacket of 4 murders, even though
Sure.
they were kids and they were 3 girls and whatever. It's still a jacket of 4 murders. Okay, I mean, he is a volatile type. I mean, Pablo here, Jumpsuit Pablo is talking about, he's the kind of guy I would not want to be roommates with him because, nobody even knows why he did this. Like, what the fuck is this about? He just goes and kills these 4 kids. That is a volatile person. That's not a kind of person you want around you. He is going to be a feared inmate in that regard. Like, he's like, oh, cuckoo, 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 among all of us in the loony bin. And we know that he has no problem murdering people. He has no problem with it. In fact, he obviously enjoys it.
Right.
So for that reason, like, that's going to be the real problem. And Dr. Vanna, I put the link in chat for you. I'd love for you to come up because I know we're jumping around topics here, but this is kind of good because Angel asked, what about page 118? And I was going to try to explain that. And I want to see what Dr. Vanna thinks about that. I have some thoughts on that too. So I'd love to talk about that.
She said she's backstage too.
What's that? You think
She said she's backstage.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Dude. Oh, okay. I got you now, girl. Okay. So guys, I'm going to bring up Dr. Vanna, special guest. We love having her. Hey girl, how's it going?
Hi guys. How are you?
Hey.
I'm
Great.
good.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Thank you for having me up.
And hey, I was actually watching your channel the other day. You were live. I got to catch a little bit of it. I was like, wasn't able to comment or anything, but you're doing a really good job. I'm super proud of you.
Oh, I appreciate that
you
so
grow up
much.
from a little baby, and you've got your sea legs, and you're running, and you're strong, and you're doing awesome.
Thank you. I would love to have you. I would love to have you on my show too.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime.
You could like dual stream or something if you want.
Yeah, no, that would be great. And I just love what when you go on DTS, I love what you have to contribute to that conversation. I'm always like, yes, Dr. Vanna, exactly what I was thinking, but you said it better than I ever would or could. Yes.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much, Kelly. Like coming from you, I really do appreciate that. That means a lot.
Yeah, no worries. So
you guys, I was saving my 118 for my live, but I'll do it here. I think I know it. I think I know what 118
Can you give everyone a little bit of background about what the question is about anyway? Angela asked, what about page 118? Okay, go ahead.
So when they went to Kohberger's house to arrest him, they, when we saw like what they collected, one of the things was a book that had page 118. There was like notes and highlight on it. They never tell us what book it is. They just say page 118. Daniel has asked me, many people have asked me, what book do I think it is? But it never occurred. I was just like, you guys, it could be any 118. And I'm sure if we read any 118, we could make it sound like it's the right one. However,
Absolutely.
I then was like, well, wait. I then was like, wait, Jamie, like you need to look into this a little bit more. And I did. And I think I got it. And I have it right here.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Dun, dun, dun. I wasn't expecting that. Go, girl.
Yeah, I'm going to do it for your live instead of mine. So I think, in my opinion, it's in the book, The Stranger Beside Me.
Okay.
And this is just my opinion, The Stranger Beside Me, and it's Anne Rule. So it's Anne Rule's Stranger Beside Me. This is just my opinion. It's a book about Bundy. Do you want me to read what it says right quick here?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, it says, carefully, the officers removed the cuffs, dusted them for latent prints, and came up with only useless smudges. They were not the Smith & Wesson brand usually favored by policemen, but a foreign brand, Jericho. Patrolmen were dispatched to the site of the attack near the grade school. They found Carl Derange's shoe, lost in a struggle, but nothing more. The Volkswagen was predictably long gone. So wait, listen up about the Volkswagen, okay? Patrol units cruised the mall looking for a light-colored bug with dents and rust spots, with a tear in the upholstery of the rear seat. They didn't find it, nor was Mary Detective Joel Reed successful in trying to lift prints from the doorknob on the door. Exposure to rain, even dew, can eradicate fingerprints quickly. Carol Derange looked through the pile of mug books and devoutly hoped never to see him again. 3 days later, she discovered 2 small drops of blood staining in the light faded fur of her jacket collar and brought the jacket in for testing. The blood was not hers. It was type O, but there was not enough of it to differentiate for RH positive or negative factors. So keep that in mind too. Mary detectives had a description of a man, a car, and an MO, and thank God a live victim. This is all like matching, right? The similarities between Derange almost successfully kidnapped and the murder of Melissa Smith could not be denied. Melissa had vanished from the parking lot of the pizza parlor, a restaurant only a mile away, but no one knew what ruse had been used to entice her from that lot without a struggle. Her father was a policeman, and then he goes on to say whatever Officer Rob Roseland's mission had been on the rainy night of November 8th, which I also thought was weird. It was in November. He had been frustrated. Carol Derange had escaped. If he had intended to R her, or worse, his appetite had only been honed to an edge. He had more to do that night. 17, and then it keeps going on. So why do I think that this is it? I think this is it because there are a lot of similarities here. They talk about the car and how they didn't, the one in particular, it says the detectives had a description of a man, a car, and an MO, and even a live victim. So I feel like this was the only one that I could find that I found. So I don't have this one in front of me, but oh wait, maybe I do. Hold on. I always have shit.
You're awesome.
I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, wait a minute, I could just pull it up on my phone.
And Daniel, it's true again. We say drunk turkey show 3 times, and he
hi, drunk turkey.
Here.
How are you?
Great to see you, Daniel.
Daniel, I think I know what page 118 is. I'm telling Kelly. I think it's The Stranger Beside Me by Anne Rule. And then I also looked up because I didn't want to just take any one of them. So I really think that it was a Bundy book or something that has to do with Bundy. Again, you guys, this is just my opinion. I could be totally wrong. But when I'm right, everybody remember that I said it here first.
I know. That might be. So again,
well, I looked at other books, like, for example, Conversations with a Killer, The Only Living Witness. So this is like focused on Bundy and the interviews and the transcripts. However, it's not typically page 118, seizing one vehicle identity. So in other words, 118 in this one didn't make sense. I also looked at Defending the Devil, and this was also about Bundy. This was a legal defense, court psychology. This was less about FBI vehicle and ID. Like, it didn't make as much sense. The one with Anne Rule makes complete sense to me. What do you guys?
Okay, so tell us again what the key points are.
Okay, this is the key point. The page marks the emotional turning point. I literally wrote it down because I don't know why. See, I'm psychic. I knew you were going to ask me. When Anne Rule, deeply entwined with Bundy, recognizes the man she knew was also the killer he pretended not to be. It's a textbook study of duality, manipulation, and projection, exactly the kinds of psychological dynamics an obsessive reader might underline. That's my opinion. But again, the big part here is duality. So meaning that you're not just who you present or mask yourself to be. Manipulation, I think he's a narcissist. And projection. I also think, I not only think he's a narcissist and as antisocial, but I think that we also see, traits of other personality disorders, in my opinion, like obsessive compulsive personality disorder and schizoid. Yeah. And I think people are misconstruing schizoid personality with autism.
Yeah, that could be true.
So what is a differentiating factor between the two?
A huge one. So with autism, right, this is going to be a developmental disorder that we'll see starting in like right away. So right in childhood, which both of them you kind of see right away because a personality disorder is different from the other disorders. And that
schizoid wouldn't have an onset till late adolescence, early 20s, right?
For what, a personality disorder?
Schizoid.
Oh, schizoid. No, that would be a personality disorder. So that would start right with your personality. So right from the beginning.
Okay.
So you would notice that he was like odd or that he was very rigid in his thinking. Same thing with the obsessive compulsive personality disorder. The difference between that and OCD is one is fueled by anxiety. So obsessive compulsive disorder, there's anxiety. I don't think that he felt that same anxiety that some of us might assume that he felt. So I think
I totally agree with you on that.
I think it was more rigidity and stuff.
Yeah.
Which would fit more with obsessive compulsive personality disorder. And the difference between a personality disorder, not for you, I know you know this, but other people, is that you never differentiate from your original self. So if I were all of a sudden depressed, you guys would be like, has anybody seen what's going on with Dr. Vona? Like she looks like really sad and stuff. So you would notice that I'm different, right? With a personality disorder, you never differentiate from your original self. So when somebody suggests you have a personality disorder, the reaction is usually like, F you have a personality disorder because the person never
because you're saying you're inherently flawed is how you take it.
Yes, that's usually
yes.
That's exactly what I was trying to say.
Yeah. And I didn't mean the onset of the symptoms, but I meant the diagnosis usually.
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm so glad you said that, Kelly.
Because your personality disorders, we wait until the brain is, for the most part, fully developed.
That's right. Yes, you can even diagnose it before the age of 18.
Right.
So yes, you're exactly right. I apologize. I misunderstood.
No, I misspoke.
You're absolutely right about that, though.
That is so interesting, Dr. Vona. Now I have, and you guys may have heard this, I have another theory, my leading theory about page 118. If we want to talk more about this, we can talk more about this.
Yeah,
and
I
I
can
think
hear your
it's a
theory.
really good one. And I think this is one that people might be aware of, but I think it is very possible that it has to do with page 118 of Elliot Rogers' Manifesto.
Elliot Rogers' Manifesto. Yep, that would be the other one that I would think.
So do you mind if I read it?
Please do.
All right, I'm going to read it. Okay, so this is page 118 of Elliot Rogers' Manifesto. Do you guys want the words up on the screen or do you just want me to read it? Like what's better?
Throw them up there.
Throw them up there. Okay, hold it. Let me just optimize this for you.
And also, I posted your link, Dr. Vona, in there. So if you guys want to go, follow her because I know you said you were going to do it on your channel. So thank you for doing it with us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, totally. And you know what? I think maybe we should schedule a live. Maybe this is the one that we can do, and we can maybe have this discussion on a deeper level. I think that would be awesome.
That would be awesome, and it would give us both time to like prepare for it.
Exactly. Because I wasn't even. This is a great question, Angel. Obviously, so I wasn't thinking about this either, but I've thought about this a lot. Okay, so this is page 118 of Elliot Rogers' Manifesto. Let me make sure. Is this it? Page 118. Is this
Michelle? We're discussing Elliot Roger and Bryan Kohberger.
Okay, let me just make sure I'm on the right page here. This is really crazy. The numeric 1 key doesn't work on my computer. So like if I need to type in a 1, I don't have the ability to do that. So hold it. Let me do. Okay, we're on 122 now. So that's why you guys are probably like, just tell me.
No, I scrolled too.
Yeah. All right.
But mine's more of a straight A stupid thing. Like I probably could just skip to 118, but
to give Michelle a little more background, this the page 118 is kind of something that was found in evidence, correct? That they found at his home that was like a highlighted page in a book, right?
Yes. And
Okay, so-
Elliot Roger, Michelle, is an incel, or the one that we would be like the poster child of an incel as far as the true crime community. That's what we think of.
Yeah. So we're
Oh,
just
I
kinda
actually
speculating.
have a little slide prepared of him.
Oh,
This is
perfect.
from a previous. Does new evidence equal incel? So that picture right there is Elliot Roger, and then next here we have, what is this? It's too small for me. Oh, these are all of the other murders, assailants. Some of these were very serious assaults. Most of them murders. Done in the name of incel, or the involuntary incelibate community. I think there was 22 of them. I didn't realize that there was so many. And I guess that's all that I had about him. But okay, so hopefully that gave you a little briefer on what we're doing here. And then, okay, I'm going to read the page 118 of the Elliot Roger manifesto. So after he went on a massacre in California, killing 6 and injuring 14, I believe, this was a manifesto as to why he committed these heinous murders. All right, let me optimize that for our crowd. That doesn't optimize it. That was fine, I guess. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is the very top of it. Okay. So the website something is very depressing. It just shows how bleak and cruel the world is due to the evilness of women. I tried to show it to my parents to give them some sort of dose of reality as to why I am so miserable. They never understood why I'm so miserable. They've always had the delusion that everything is going well for me, especially my father. When I sent the link of this website to my parents, none of them even bothered to look at the post there. And I think already we might see some parallels of how Elliot Roger is explaining he feels and how we know Bryan Kohberger feels based on his writings when he was younger and other things we know about him. After a spring season spent in absolute despair, while other young people lived healthy lives of sexual pleasure, summer arrived. Summer is worse than spring, especially in Santa Barbara. Flocks of hot young girls go out in their shorts and bikinis, further tantalizing my sex-starved body every time I look at them.
This could be it.
Knowing they gleefully, I like your idea though too, knowing they gleefully show off their desirable forms, yet they would never give me a chance to be their boyfriend, only increased by my already boiling hatred towards all women. I could not leave my apartment without seeing at least a few of them. The only place I could go where I could be at peace was in Lake Park in Goleta. Wow, the only place I could go to be at peace was out in this fucking park in the middle of nowhere, just like who else do we know? I spent a lot of time there trying to establish a sense of peace and serenity whenever my loneliness in Isla Vista became too unbearable. As I looked at all of the beautiful trees around me and the towering mountains in the background, I wondered how a world so beautiful can be such a dark and cruel place. Indeed, a beautiful environment is the dark as hell if you have to experience it all alone while other men get to enjoy the company of women. Now, remember those people that were interviewed on Dateline, that group of people that he had met at the pool party said they were coming down from that hike from this park with a group of people. And it was, it was like dusk. It was almost dark. And here Bryan Kohberger comes alone going into the trails. Wow. Sounds like a lot of parallels here. I had nothing left to live for but revenge. Women must be punished for their crimes of rejecting such a magnificent gentleman as myself. All of those popular boys must be punished for enjoying heavenly lives and having sex with all the girls while I had to suffer in lonely virginity. It was already June, and I'd been living in Santa Barbara for 2 years, 2 whole years. I lived in a college town full of young, attractive students who partied and had sex all the time, and I didn't get to experience any of it. No one invited me to any parties, and in all the times I went out by myself to Isla Vista, none of the beautiful blonde girls showed any interest in having sex with me, not one girl. These are crimes that cannot go unpunished. The more I thought about all these injustices that were dealt to me, the more eager I became for revenge. It's all I had left. I didn't want to die, but I knew that I had to kill myself after I exacted my revenge to avoid getting captured and imprisoned.
But see, the thing is, Bryan Kohberger, because he was a criminal justice student, thought he was too smart to get captured and imprisoned. For a while, I had been deciding on whether I would exact my retribution on Isla Vista or Santa Barbara City College. In both, so he's choosing between a college and another place. In both places, in another college town. In both places, I'd suffered greatly at the hands of everyone there. I had seen attractive young couples walking around in both places, and these were my targets. I wanted to kill as many attractive young couples as I possibly could. After a lot of thinking, I came to the conclusion that the day of retribution will take place in Isla Vista. On a weekend nights, the streets of Isla Vista are always flooded with young couples and good-looking popular kids walking to their parties. What better place is there to exact my retribution on my enemies? Every time I walked around Isla Vista, trying to meet girls or to fit in with popular kids, I've only been treated with disdain, as if I'm an inferior mouse. On the day of retribution, the tables will indeed turn. I mused to myself. I will be a god. They will all be animals I can slaughter. They are animals. They behave like animals, and I will slaughter them like the animals they are. It came to a point where I had to set a date for the day of retribution. I originally considered it, listen to this, doing it on Halloween of 2013. That is when the entire town erupts in raucous partying. There would literally be thousands of people crowded together who I could kill with ease. The goal was to kill everyone in Isla Vista, to utterly destroy that wretched town. But then, after seeing footage of previous Halloween events on YouTube, I saw that there were too many cops walking around. It would be too risky. One gunshot from a cop will end everything. The day of retribution would have to be on a normal party weekend, so I set it sometime during November 2013. What day did the Idaho killings happen? November 13th.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So while you were reading that, I wrote down a few things, and I think that this could be it too. So I didn't read this page, and now that you read it, I wrote that it could be this because there's a fascination with control, rejection, and violence, a psychological need to feel seen or powerful, which I think is a big part of Kohberger's MO, a focus on personal suffering and perceived injustice. I think this is a big one, you guys. So
yeah,
there's a difference between injustice and perceived injustice. Perception's reality, even when it's not real. So even if it's not unjust, if somebody perceives it that way, then but the biggest one of all that I wrote here is a narrative voice filled with narcissistic rage and grandiose self-identity.
Mm-hmm.
So this could definitely be it, Kelly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
I mean,
yeah, it sounds so dead on. I feel like he had this obsession with fitting in with the college crowd and being the cool kid, and thought maybe I was a dork in high school and college. This is my chance. This is my time. And that didn't pan out for him. And he became enraged.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. And you see here just even, I mean, and I've read most of this manifesto, not all of it, because literally it makes you feel sick to your stomach. But, you know, there are certainly parallels between the personality profile we have of Bryan Kohberger, right? Dr. Vanna and Elliot Rogers here, and also the expressed feelings of each of them. But I think on this page in particular, there are the greatest parallels. And DT Daniel from Drunk Turkey Show also says, there's one book I know Kohberger had for sure. And
I wrote, which one is it?
Confessions of a Serial Killer, BTK. Ramsland said in an interview once, it was mandatory for her class. May not be the 118 that's highlighted, but well, let's find out what page 118.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna look it up.
Daniel, get obsessive like me and Vanna.
I'll have it done in like 2 minutes.
I know you will.
I got this.
No, Daniel does great work, guys. Obviously, I'm sure most of you know Daniel's channel, but if you don't, certainly go get acquainted. Awesome. Yeah.
I think Pickle said she just sent you the page 118 to email.
Oh.
of BTK.
Wait. As I'm ridiculing Daniel lovingly here, he had already said, thank you very much, Jennifer. He had just said, I just found page 118 of Confessions of a Serial Killer. I doubt it's a BTK one. Elliot Roger sounds more likely. Okay. All right. Cool. Well, thanks for checking that out. And
Oh, God, I agree. It just sounds so dead on.
Yeah.
It does. This is the thing, you guys, when it comes to looking at like the parallels between them, I do see parallels, but I see a lot that's different. So like with Elliot Rogers, I really see autism. I don't see that with Kohberger. Like autistic people don't usually manipulate others in the way that Kohberger does. So Elliot Rogers also manipulative.
Well, remembering, and I know you know this, but remembering the vast spectrum nature of, an autism spectrum disorder, you don't see it at all. That surprises me.
No, I see. This is just my opinion, though, you guys. I could be dead wrong. I want to see the results of the studies that were done to show me that it is. And
I don't think the interpretations as they were presented to us are actually what like we would interpret them as.
Well, I think that we're seeing schizoid personality disorder and obsessive compulsive personality traits, and that's masking for what people like. Schizoid and autism get confused often. So I think that with Kohberger, in my opinion, we're seeing more of a schizoid personality, and with Elliot Roger, we're seeing autism. One of the big differences, and I don't know if see Cuffew agrees. So with the celibacy thing, I think that Kohberger is voluntarily celibate. So Elliot Roger would go out and he would say, I went out tonight and not one person talked to me, but it never like occurred to him to go talk to them. With Kohberger, it was different in that he did talk to people. So whether he creeped them out or not, he still talked to them. So he would put his phone number in girls' phones. The girl that he texted, even the Asian peer that he had, right? She was into him. So with Elliot Roger, we don't see women that are into him. With Kohberger, we do. So even if we wouldn't be into him, there were people that were into him. So I feel like he could have been intimate, but he just didn't want to because they weren't the girls that he was obsessing or fantasizing about.
I also think there's a factor too, like Kelly, I'm an autism mama. So I also think a lot of people sometimes will confuse having just a general like social anxiety with autism, because you can behave socially awkward, and clearly Kohberger is socially awkward. And I think that may also be a factor into the sexual frustration that maybe he was feeling insecure. And even though he's talking to these women, when it came down to making a move and actually doing something, I don't think he was capable of it. I think something in his brain, was making himself feel like I'm not good enough, or,
well, I think that he didn't see them as the women that he wanted. They weren't the ideal women to him. So then the ideal women to him weren't the ones that were into him.
Right. Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. Now, also Pickle Pickle sent me 118 from the BTK book. Do you want to read that too?
Yeah.
Okay. And Daniel, I think that, I can see why, you said, he has this book, but I can see some parallels here. So here, I'm going to read it.
Yeah, okay. I think this is good.
So something, as I lay flat on my single bed, rehearsing what I should or shouldn't have said, what I should or shouldn't have done, and how I should have played it if I ever get out of here. Let's stop there. I intend to get out of here. It can't last forever. Others have thought such things in bad times before this, and they were always right. Did they get out one way or another, and it didn't last forever? Although for them, it may have lasted all the forever they had. When I get out of here, is he talking about prison or his mental frame of mind wanting to kill? I'm not sure. When I get out of here, if I'm ever able to set this down in any form, even in the form of one voice to another, it will be reconstruction then too. And yet another remove. It's impossible to say a thing exactly the way it was, because what you say can never be exact. You always have to leave something out. There are too many parts, sides, cross currents, nuances, too many gestures.
which could mean this or that, too many shapes, which can never be fully described, too many flavors in the air or on the tongue, half colors, too many. But if you happen to be a man sometime in the future and you've made it this far, please remember, you will never be subject to the temptation or feeling you must forgive a man as woman. It's difficult to resist, believe me. But remember that forgiveness, too, is a power. To beg for it is a power, and to withhold or bestow it is a power, perhaps the greatest. Maybe none of this is about control. Maybe it isn't really about who can own whom, who can do what to whom and get away with it, even as far as death. Maybe it isn't about who can sit and who has to kneel or stand or lie down, legs spread open. Maybe it's about who can do what to whom and be forgiven for it. Never tell me it amounts to the same thing. I want you to kiss me, said the commander. I don't know what the hell that's about. And then, so, I mean, if you read into it, I mean, he's talking about, I think going to the extremes of, thought and behavior. And, he talks about even death, about being a control issue and forgiveness, maybe in a way, justifying his own actions. If I wanted to look at it and trying to frame it into fitting something. I mean, what do you think, Dr. Vana?
So this one's used in Dr. Ramsland's class, so I could see why he has this book, readily available.
Mm-hmm.
But in my opinion, the other two books probably fit better. Here, though, I wrote down early formation of control fantasies in the one you just read. I wrote intersection of family life with covert murderous urges. So like his fantasy to kill. And then his own reflections on power, secrecy, and dual identity, which goes back to the other passage.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of all fit if you want them to, which is what I said in Daniel's thing like a long time ago when we talked about it, is that I feel like depending on your reading preferences, you could really make 118 of many books fit. But I really think that it's probably down to the first two that we talked about, either Elliot Rodgers' Manifesto, or in my opinion, it could also still be Anne Rule's Stranger Beside Me.
Yeah.
So,
No,
are we ever going to know, though? That's the thing. Like, will we ever know?
Well, you and I are going to figure it out, obviously.
Right?
What's that?
Is it going to be like with Chris Watts, like how we don't know, like we do know a lot of the info because we have 2,000 pages or whatever. So I get that.
Right.
But like, how there was still so much more information that we should,
right.
So is it going to be like that, do you think? Like, what do you guys think?
I think this will come out in Discovery after the sentencing phase.
I hope so.
I think we're going to get a lot more out of this than we did with Watts, for sure.
Good.
That's just my hunch on it. Kelly, what do you think?
I'm sorry. I don't think so. No, I don't think so, unfortunately. But I'm sorry. I just want to correct this because Pickle said, well, it says not the BTK page 118. What the fuck was I reading then?
That's me.
Oh, okay. Hold it. So, okay. All right. Okay. Let me go. Okay. Sorry about that. I just wanted to correct. I'm sorry, Jennifer. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to correct myself.
No, you're okay.
Y'all thought I was really crazy. Okay.
No big deal. We just have more content now to read.
Yeah, exactly. Like just more.
No
more.
problem. I just go.
Okay, so then I've got that. I'll tell you if I think we should. Let's see.
I'll also be interested. Hopefully, we'll get more out of documents on his laptop, things he was writing, researching. He seems like the type who maybe kept like a diary, manifesto type thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly. I mean, we do know that, one thing that has come out in evidence is that there was, attempts to, modify his computer and his files in several days, following the murders. Who knows if he was successful in permanently deleting anything. I mean, that's really hard to do. But apparently he does have, some training and some skills and, forensic technology, correct? That's something he wanted to specialize in. So.
I also keep thinking, what kind of idiot highlights a book and leaves it in their house?
Someone who has a grandiose sense of self.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
I
that
mean,
wasn't gonna
what
get caught.
idiot kills 4 people and then returns to the murder scene 5 hours
Actually, a lot of
later in the
people.
same
Yes.
car that they drove there when they committed the murders?
You would be surprised, but maybe it's something about the killer more so than anything else that a lot of them do go back.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think he didn't see anything yet on I don't know if you guys know about the Strava app.
Yeah.
No, not Strava. That's the one with the running. Oh my God,
What's
you
the
guys, what's the
Strava?
one with the school? I'm having like a brain fart. It's the one with school, like oh my gosh. It's on the tip of my tongue. Somebody in chat will know. But you have to be within 5 miles of other people on the app to see
right.
what they're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could he have not seen it on the news yet and wanted to see, like, everybody freaking out and the cops there, and then he gets there and there's nothing there.
There's
And
nothing there.
Man, to go right back within, hundreds of yards of the scene of the crime.
People do it all the time. It's
I know
bananas.
they do, but I mean, that's ballsy, delusional.
So it
and
is.
fucking stupid.
It's so
I
stupid.
think that was also a part of a compulsion. When we talk about OCD, it's going back and forth, just kind of this repetitiveness of going back and forth in his head. Did I take everything that I needed? And then this obsession of going back and forth to kind of look at what he did, see what the scene looks like. Are the cops there? I think that was a compulsion that he had to feed to eventually leave the area. I mean, at some point he knew he needed to leave, but God, I feel like he could have been there all day long, back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think at that point, I mean, and possibly, I mean, maybe there was that air of compulsion about him and that kind of behavior. But I mean, I think with what he had just done, and I mean, even what was going on in his body hormonally and chemically, the adrenaline dump and like everything that happened after what he had just done, and his, his brain was like it whether he was on DRUGS or not, and I personally think he was on METH, amphetamines. Personally, and I think you believe that too, Daniel. I think I've heard you talk about that in your show. I definitely think he was. I mean, he's up for freaking days, and I think he was like on a natural high of sources I'm talking about right now. But to be up for that long, that just like no. And so I think like any. Okay, so tell me if you agree with this, Dr. Vonna. Even with a personality. Personality, what am I saying? Just, oh my God, I'm so
disorder.
Tired.
I got you.
Yes. Type of characteristics or, personality traits or qualities or whatever. When he's in this state of mind, all of that's going to be overridden. His tendencies for compulsion or neuroses, which I think we agree, we don't think he necessarily has, but schizoid, yes, all that's going to be overridden because of the state of mind he's in now due to the extraordinary thing that he just did and how he's reacting to it chemically, psychologically, and so on. I mean, I think that either has to do with the, being so proud of himself. He's now including himself in that what he sees as elite class of, serial killers like Ted Bundy, who would do something so brazen as to return of the scene of the crime after they just slain 4 people. Or, at this point, he realized he did not have his knife sheath. That must have been a shocker.
That must have bothered him too. I think what you're talking about too is the biopsychosocial model, right? So there's a biological component, a psychological or the thought process, and then a social component. So I totally agree with you that there is a physiological component that we have to consider. However, with a personality disorder, the emotional reaction is different than in someone like you or I. So for him, like where we might be so anxious, somebody with narcissistic and antisocial personality, which I think he has narcissistic and antisocial personality. I think he has traits of schizoid and obsessive compulsive personality disorder. With that being said, I think someone with those disorders, they feel emotion differently than we do. They don't usually feel guilt and remorse, right? But they do feel fear. So a lot of people often confuse that. So they don't feel anxiety, but they feel fear. So as soon as something happens, they want to get out of there. So I think you could be right in what you're saying because it goes with the psychology part of it as well.
Well, hey, it's interesting that you said that, because I don't know if you noticed this or yourself, or if you, and I just included this in the Pappa Roger's video that I made and dropped the other day. I analyzed his DeSalle's Reddit survey, and that survey is comprised of, 6 either, standardized questionnaires or, psychological surveys. And one of them is, and then there's 9 of his original questions. And one of them is a guilt and shame proneness scale. And what you just said right there is really like it is like the measure of the guilt and shame proneness scale.
Wow.
I don't know how familiar you are with it, but I don't know if you knew that or not.
No, I didn't. So I actually didn't know that. So I do think that it's important then to note that, in my opinion, at least, the one on Reddit, just by getting my own doctorate and doing my own research and going through an institutional review board and all that stuff, I can't imagine Rowan University allowing me to just post, like, even if it was a survey that was used before, like that's reliable and valid, I still don't see them letting me just post it on Reddit. You have to be so very specific, as you know. Like, my dissertation is on, looks at the effects of social media on identity development of 18 to 24-year-old college students. Like, you have to get very detailed. So to just put a survey out on Reddit, to me, and I think that teacher that said, like, oh, this is like a regular survey.
The standard part. Yeah, I was just going to ask what you thought of that, because I thought that was bullshit too when I heard that.
I do too. And I think she also in that same interview goes on to tell us, which I call from the very beginning, that he never, because I was like, there's no way. He did the survey 1 month before he graduated. There's just no way. I've done data analysis. You have to, right? Data analysis and collection. You can't do that. And then you have to report the data and post it to where, like, there's just too many steps for it. Like, even if you're a genius, he's not doing it like that. So I think this was his personal survey so that he could see, like, so he could identify with other people. He has an identity issue here, in my opinion. So I think, like, by hearing other people don't have guilt and remorse, it almost lets him know that, like, yes, you are identifying with these people.
He's validating himself. I wanted to tell you this part of this video. And that first part of it, I just went over, I cataloged all of Pappa Roger posts. And this is a part where I'm analyzing the DeSalle survey. And I want to see what you guys think of this. And Daniel, if you haven't watched this whole video yet, I'm requiring you to do that for homework. Actually, original questions thought of by Bryan Kohberger. 2022. Now let's take a look at Bryan Kohberger's Reddit survey from when he was a graduate student at DeSalle's University. This is a 29 question survey with some subsets of these questions. You are going to see that this survey is comprised of some other surveys and questionnaires that are commonly given in the world of psychology or even health in general. And only 9 of the questions on this survey are actually original questions thought of by Bryan Kohberger. So let's just go through that really quickly. Questions 1 through 6 are just asking for basic demographic information. What's your age? What's your gender? Are you of Hispanic origin? What is your highest degree? Questions that are asked all the time when you start to fill out any kind of survey or questionnaire. Questions 7 through 11 are general questions that ask about the participant's criminal history. These are general questions that are asked anytime a survey is looking for somebody's criminal history. Questions 11 through 14 are comprised of a generalized risk factor assessment for criminal behavior. Questions 13 through 23 are the questions we are going to be interested in taking a deeper look at, and we're going to come back to that in just a little bit. These are the questions that are uniquely from Bryan Kohberger. Question 24 and its subset are from the GAD-7 survey, or the Generalized Anxiety Disorder survey. This is a survey commonly used in psychiatry. Question 25 and its subset are from the PHQ, or Patient Health Questionnaire 9 survey. These are questions commonly used in the field of psychiatry, psychology, and just you might answer these questions when you go to see your general health practitioner. Questions 26 and its subset are from the GASP, Guilt and Shame Proneness Scale, and this is a measure of moral emotions in the public and private transgressions. It basically measures
if people feel guilt or shame when they do something that is not socially acceptable. Question 27 and its subset are from the Toronto Empathy Scale. And this questionnaire measures how much empathy a person has. Do you feel for other people? Do you relate to other people? Do you feel something when you see another person is going through something difficult or joyful? Do you have empathy towards other people? Question 28 and its subset are from the General Temperament Scale. And this is a measure of someone's temperament. Are you hot-tempered? Are you patient? Do you blow your stack quickly? And I'm giving very kind of, simple explanations to all these surveys. I think you guys understand that. Or do you tend to, exercise some discretion and give some quiet consideration to difficult situations? Question 29 and its subset are from the Brief Self-Control Scale, which measures cognitive control, emotional regulation, and behavioral inhibition. This has very much to do with pathological and criminal behavior, and sometimes is used in the field of psychology, among other things, or psychiatry, to assess if people are leaning in that direction towards certain pathologies. And also other things. Since we know that only questions 13 through 23 are Bryan Kohberger's own unique questions, let's read through those questions. How was your life right before the crime occurred? Did you prepare for the crime before leaving your home? Please detail what you were thinking and feeling at this point. Did you travel? How did you travel and enter to the location that the crime occurred? After arriving, what steps did you take prior to locating the victim or target, the person or object? Please detail your thoughts and feelings. 17. Why did you choose that victim or target over others? 18. Before making your move, how did you approach your victim or target? Please be detailed in what you were thinking and feeling. 19. What was the first move you made in order to accomplish your goal? Please detail any thoughts and feelings at this point. Number 20. How did you accomplish your goal? Please explain what you were thinking and feeling. 21. Before leaving, is there anything else you did? 22. How did you leave the scene? 23. After committing the crime, how were you thinking, or what, were you thinking and feeling? Now let's go back to some of the questions from the Pappa Roger survey. December 2. Did the killer or killers drive or walk to and from the scene? Thoughts? Kind of a weird question, right? Well, let's take a look at Bryan Kohberger's DeSalle survey questionnaire, question number 15, one of the only questions that was uniquely his. How did you travel to and enter the location that the crime occurred? He's also interested in how the perpetrator got to the crime scene. Kind of interesting, right? Now, this next question from Pappa Rogers, I think really gives it away. December 8th. Why did the killer choose that house over all the others in the area? Decent question, right? Well, let's take a look at question number 17 from Bryan Kohberger's DeSalle University Reddit survey. Why did you choose the victim or target over others? Pappa Roger asks, why did the killer choose that house over all the others in the area? Bryan Kohberger's Reddit survey says, why did you choose that victim or target over others? The way these two questions are phrased is very similar. Why was one choice made over other available choices? This is not the way that a person would typically necessarily phrase this question. So those are 2 out of Bryan Kohberger's 9 original questions from the Reddit survey that are directly asked by Pappa Roger in the University of Idaho Murders Facebook group. 2 out of 9. I mean, they are questions that are directly taken from the Reddit survey, language use and all. But then there are other questions from Bryan Kohberger's Reddit survey, 9 questions that are originally his, that are addressed in the University of Idaho Murders Facebook discussion group. Like on December 11th, he says, do we think the killer took anything from the house? This gets at the heart of question 21 from Bryan Kohberger's survey before leaving. Is there anything else you did? Well, what else would you do other than to take something, right? And then there's this post from December 1st. This is on the high side of the house. They found evidence here. It's likely blood dripping from the killers. Either they fled through this area or they were parked there. This being the most strategic entrance point to the house, it shows planning. Well, this would be an answer to Bryan Kohberger's Reddit survey question number 22. How did you, sub in, the killer, leave the scene? Well, Pappa Roger just answered that question now, didn't he? In the Facebook discussion group about the murders. And then, of course, there is perhaps the most telling post of all, which was Pappa Roger's first post on November 30th. Of the evidence released, the murder weapon has been consistent as a large fixed blade knife. This leads me to believe they found the sheath. This evidence was released prior to autopsies. Well, Bryan Kohberger, now that we know he is the admitted killer of the 4 victims of this horrible crime. And then, of course, there is perhaps the most telling post of all, which was Pappa Roger's first post on November 30th. Of the evidence released, the murder weapon has been consistent as a large fixed blade knife. This leads me to believe they found the sheath. This evidence was released prior to autopsies. Well, Bryan Kohberger, now that we know he is the admitted killer of the 4 victims of this horrible crime, he, at that time, aside from law enforcement, would be the only person that would know that law enforcement had found a knife sheath at the scene of the crime. Just like Pappa Roger seemed to know that as well. And then, as I pointed out earlier, on December 12th, Pappa Roger asked, is the killer still in Moscow, Idaho right now? And that just happened to be the day when Bryan Kohberger left the area to travel across the country with his father to go home to Pennsylvania. Does this provide you enough evidence to believe that Bryan Kohberger is behind the Pappa Roger account? Leave a comment below letting us know what you think. We all want to know what you think. And okay, so what do you think about that?
I'm convinced that it's him more than ever. I always thought that it was. I did I don't know if you guys remember, but Google Trends, like for a while I was doing Google Trends with people. So one of my Google Trends, we were able to like put the birth of Pappa Rogers in Washington in 2022. Kelly, I'll send you the little video. Wow. Like I did a little short on it and I show you guys and I literally get so not excited, but I'm like, you guys, I'm like, it is my opinion
about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that it's him. And this just made me, this just validated for me that it absolutely is. So one of the things that I thought was weird, not weird, but ironic, was when he says, would you pick this above all others? Usually we would say,
he says over all others. He specifically says over. Yeah. It's the exact phraseology. Yeah.
Exactly. We would probably say something like, would you, if not, why or why not, or whatever. Right. Like, but the fact that he wrote over others, that was huge for me.
Yeah. That was the big giveaway for me. That was what convinced me. I mean, convinced me beyond a shadow of a doubt it's him.
So crazy.
I mean, it's just such strange phrasing. So,
guys,
really, I do have to wrap it up because I have to be at work tomorrow at 7:30. But absolutely. This was such like a great discussion. And Dr. Mollis, definitely, I think we should schedule something and continue.
I would love that.
A deeper dive into all these issues for sure.
I would love that. And Thursday night, I'm having Dr. Schultz on. People that a lot of people in here have been asking me when Dr. Schultz is coming back. She's coming back Thursday at 7. If anybody, 7 Eastern, if anybody's interested.
Cool. I will be there.
And then Kelly, you're going to be up there too eventually. So we have to make something. I put my number in the comments, Kelly.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And Jennifer, thank you so much for coming up. Crafted Evidence. Thank you so much for coming up and talking with us. And yeah, I really appreciate you guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll see you guys in the next one.
Thank you guys.
All right, guys. All right.
I'll see you later.
Guys. Thank you so much. Oh, and check out Crafted Evidence and of course Dr. Vada's channel. And just let me make sure I'm saying it right. So let me.
You're fine. The Minds Behind True Crime with Dr. Vona.
That's so funny because when I was trying to
make my YouTube channel into like a podcast sort of thing, which I kind of have, but the name is like almost like the same, but I can see like why it would be. Like when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, but
That's
I
so
like,
funny.
was confused, but yeah, I'll
Oh
email
my
you.
God, I
I'll
had
email
no
you.
idea. That's so cool though. That
No, of
means
course you didn't, but because we're like we're from the same
Yes.
perspective and training. Yeah.
That's so cool. That's cool though. That means great minds think alike.
That's right, girl.
It's a sign of flattery, Kelly.
That's right. That's right. That's how I'm taking it. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
I'll see you later.
Bye. Awesome, guys. And thank you to everybody who is here. Yeah, so go check out Crafted Evidence, Dr. Vanna's channel. We have DT Show in the house, of course. I saw someone saying, a couple people saying you aren't familiar with the channel. Oh, you'll love it. Go check out Daniel's channel. And hey, Mary C says, you are all amazing. Great work, ladies. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that very much. Thank you, guys. And guys, thank you so much for being here. It's been fun. I really appreciate the conversation. There were so many great comments. I've read them all. I'm going to read them again. And I'm sorry I didn't get to kind of talk about more of the things you were bringing up, but there's just so much to talk about. So we'll be doing this again really soon, guys. Yeah. And Daniel, what do you have coming up this week? Anything? Well, things, yes, but anything you want to highlight? Let's see if I can wait here for a minute. Oh, Angel's been a member for 6 months. Thank you, love. Let's see. Well, Daniel's definitely got stuff going on. Shutter Island. Ooh, I love Shutter Island. Great movie. And Flex is coming in with a great movie recommendation. For all those of you who haven't watched Shutter Island, do watch it, but be prepared to feel very disturbed for some time after watching it. But I guess if, we can stomach all of this, yeah, Shutter Island is really great. It's one of the movies where you don't see the twist coming. I would challenge anybody who says they do see the twist coming in that one. Daniel says, I'll be on tomorrow night talking about people coming out, talking about Kohberger. Awesome. Great. I'll be there. Anything going on tomorrow night? Always love catching you live. So hopefully you guys will all be there with me. Cape Fear is a really good one too. Oh, you guys have good taste in movies. Good stuff. All right, guys. Okay. So everybody, remember, life is hard. It certainly can be hard. So be good to one another, please. But mostly be good to yourself because you deserve it, motherfucker. Just kidding. I love you guys. I didn't mean to I hope nobody was offended by that. I mean motherfucker in a loving way. So we said enough in this live stream where YouTube's not going to care that I say motherfucker. No. Hopefully your children aren't listening. Could that be? Does anyone have any more good movie recommendations before we go? We got Cape Fear and Shutter Island, 2 super great thriller movies. Were you guys talking about any other ones? I'm getting some recommendations for when I actually sit down and calm down and watch a movie, which isn't very often, but sometimes it happens. Shutter Island might be the next one. Okay, guys. All right. So I'm going to end it. It's always so hard to say goodbye, but I will see you guys soon. Oh, and Daniel says, Predestination is a great movie. I haven't seen that one yet. I'm going to add it to the recommendations. Okay, so we have Cape Fear, Predestination, and Shutter Island. Very good. Awesome. It's with Ethan Hawke. Oh, cool. Awesome. I like him a lot. Nice. Okay, guys, take care. I will see you soon. I think I'm going to be doing another live stream on not Thursday night, because I'm going to go over to Dr. Vanna's, not tomorrow, because I'm going to go over to Daniel's. So probably Wednesday. So I'll see you guys on Wednesday.